Hello and welcome to the video. We're going to talk about today how to play against a Vienna game. So before we talked about in another video how to play against the Vienna Gambit, we talked about with my coach Eugene Perlstein how to play against it using the bulk beer variation. So in this particular video, we'll talk about how to play against the Mieses Variation, and the Stanley Variation, basically the subsets about the Vienna game. Not necessarily going to the, let's say, the Vienna Gambit. So, what are the Mieses Gambit and the Stanley Gambit? We'll talk about the Mieses Variation first. And it goes after e4, e5, knight c3, knight f6. Then they go, in particular, this Mieses Variation g3. So, now we do the solid approach we just developed, bishop c5. They go bishop e2, and they want a castle. And now, we go c6. And if you know the Vienna variation is white, if you're playing as e4 players, sometimes you want this real effect on that and the black side, the other side. So similar things, d5 is coming in really fast and we control the center that way. So they go usually knight g2 or knight f3. So most people play knight g2. Let's do the other one, the less popular one first. Knight f3. Now we go d5, no matter. So there's a lot of variations that they go wrong with, but the best one is castling by far. And they go, as us, as black, we do d6, e4. But the goal is the same. We're going to take an e4 pretty much all the time. So they want to make sure that they get their king safe before the chaos happens, so that's why they castle. So after knight g5, trying to get the pawn back to the knights for also the bishop. The bishop is the counter, so there's really no way to save it. Now we go bishop e4. It's something that I found that is really, really pushing for black to try to equalize, not just only equalize, but try to play for a fighting game. So they go knight g8 takes e4, knight c4, they take back with their knight, but now f5. This is why the fighting is happening. So this is one knight c3 castles, and black is actually really good. The pawn in f2 is pinned. We have a lockdown as aggressive bishop, something like this, and also the bishop's guarding the e5 pawn, knight c7, maybe queen c7, rook e8 from the a square. This is easy to play for black, really, really easy. It's already equal. This knight f3 is not actually a challenge for black. So let's go back to move 5, when we have this, let's say, fork in the road. After we go c6, knight g2 or knight f3. Look at f3. Allows us to talking about knight ge2. The most popular variation continuation is white. As you know, we go d5, and now we go after takes d4. They go d4, and now we just take there once, and now castles. And you see that we have an isolated pawn, but it's not going to be that weak, because when you have an isolated pawn, Isolani or something like that, you want to have activity in exchange for this weakness. So you want to have activity as much as you can. So if you have another move, you want to do rook e8 check, and just make sure that the disruption of the development is really bad for white. So they go castling to get out of the check. Now we go bishop e4. Be aggressive. We have to be active if you want to play this isolated queen pawn position. So queen e3, now take on d4. Why do this? Because we have a knight, let's say, tempo with knight 6. We develop with speed. So even though we have the isolated pawn, we have aggression, we have attacking potential, and things are going to be ending up really, really, let's say, shaky for white. So after queen c5, we go d4, just going ahead and attacking this knight and c3. So usually the main move by far is they go h3, disrupt, and it asks the question, where's the bishop going? And we go bishop e6. A calm move. We don't have to go crazy. We just do this one and just actually have a grip on d5. No knight d5 is seen, because even though they have two defenders of the square with the queen and the bishop, we have three attackers, knight, bishop, queen, and therefore we own that square on d5. There's no way to have this knight be safely planted on this advanced knight d5 square. So they usually go take on c6. It was really crazy to think about it, but now we have this intermezzo. You don't have to take this bishop back. You can, but it's inferior to this bishop takes h3 attacking the rook. There's too many things attacking. This one's hanging. This one's like this one being attacked rather. This one's attacked. This one will attack. This is crazy. But I guarantee, I promise you that black is ending up in an equal position and actually poking the holes that white has for himself. So they go rook e1, pitting the pawn d4, saying that you can't take my knight because I'll take your queen. But we have queen c8, a gorgeous move, saying that you can't move the bishop away because I will take your queen. The goal is, if you think about it, we have a isolated pawn weakness. In exchange, though, we take this bishop out of the game. And therefore, this king safety is compromised for the rest of the game. The light squares are ours for the taking, and they're going to have problems long term. You can see a bunch of nightmares coming in the endgames where the king is being attacked and attacked. So this is not good. So they can go rook takes e4 to be clever, but we go rook e8, and you want to just say, okay, I want to scare you a little bit. I want to do this one and really just get into your face. So if they know better, they go bishop e4. But now we take on c6 finally, but we could take a c6 first. But I like this really cool touch about this rook e8 developing a tempo to threaten the e1. But this is end up having a good position where black has no weak isolated d pawn. We have a c pawn isolated, but it's not a closed file, not an open file like the d pawn was, but the closed file of c6 was a much better situation. Not only that, this pawn is blocking the knight's advanced squares. So this knight is actually hampered by the weak pawn c6. It's really good for black. Really good. So that's it for the Mieses variation. Let's talk about the more concerning. This is a Stanley variation. This is a tough one. So after this one, after knight f6 in the early Vienna game, people go to Stanley variation, which is bishop c4. Try to do something like this. We go bishop c5, but the cool thing is, you know what the cool thing is? We have the same exact plan. We go c6, d5, having this Ponziani sort of feel. So d3 is the main move, and now we go c6. They could go knight f3 or f4. So let's do knight f3 first, which is sort of saying looking, but now we go d6. It's important to make sure that we don't lose this pawn and have the crypt on the center is confirmed for this black pieces. So now they go castles, we go castles, they go h3. It's important that they don't allow us to go this pin, because even though they can, there's also some variation that they go h3 the first place. Either way, I'll just go castles and transposes. But sometimes people just go castles and then h3. The same purpose is to block bishop e4 pins. Now we go h6, saying I want to do the same thing with you. No bishop e5 pins whatsoever. If you pin up us in bishop e5, I'll pin you bishop e4. Basically tit for tat. No problems. Bishop e3. It's apparently this most popular move in the database. And basically, I think that is trying to foresee not being, temporal by the bishop b, the b5 move, a5, a4 rather. It's really menacing. There's a lot of people not do this one. In that case, if they don't do this one, just hit him with b5, a5, e4, and you're going to be better. You're going to be better as black. So already, black has a winning advantage sort of play. They had to be careful as white. Would have thought. So bishop e3. If you do this one, doesn't matter. We go knight b7, developing normally. They go queen e2. This is all theory moves. Rook e8, the alignment of the queen, and the rook is spelling danger tactics all around the game. So after bishop e3, we go with this lovely move, b5. We don't care if they take the bishop. We'll take with knight and saying, okay, bye bishop. I'll take the knight and maybe just cheese it, a5, a4, and then we take this bishop. If they go b8-3, then we just boop, we just lob it out with a knight. So they go a3, pairing things, but we go a5. They go rook e1, but no, we can just do a4. And things are really good. And black is actually good. No worries at all. So this is the end of this, let's say, knight f3 version. And the last thing we'll talk about the Stanley variation. Let's go back to all the way at the beginning. Bishop c4, at the start of the Stanley variation, we go up to c5, d3, c6, let's say they go f4. F4 is the last thing we need to talk about. We need to talk about it. How do we react to this one? Well, we just simply take. We just simply take with a bishop, and you think, what about d4? Well, it transposes d4. Don't worry, I'm got you. I don't want to skip over that. d4 is transposing to what we have here. So we castle d4. Now bishop b4. It's basically the same potato. If they go d4, bishop b4, the same thing is actually happening. So they go e5 to just block us from taking on e4 with knight. So if they go knight f3, we'll just lop it off with knight e4, and we're just winning. So they go the smart one, knight, this pawn e5 rather. We go d5, a counter attack the bishop. So if they're smart, they will not take an f6 and lose the bishop. The d takes c4. For them, if they're smart, people probably not going to share it all the time. They go bishop d3, but now we go knight e4. We go in the center. If they know what's good for them, they'll take this with a bishop. If not, well, we're going to take on c3. We're just better. So we'll take on c3. Intermezzo. Intermezzo is in between move. We don't take on e4 like checkers. We do taking that knight with check. So we have things in our pocket to do before we take on e4. This one taking e4. And it's happening to develop naturally. f3 is really natural, but now they have to settle with knight e2. We go bishop e6. Developing is important. So the castle's bishop e4, the pinned in the rook and knights. Basically, the knight is pinned by the bishop. So rook f2 to get out of this one is the most, let's say, popular approach to this one. Sometimes people don't settle with this and they get, let's say, destroyed. If they do resolve the pin or not, we do the same move, f5. f5 is all around the good crucial move. So this one, queen f6, is looking scary. But if you think about it, if the bishop goes anywhere besides e3 and g3, we'll take an f2 with check. And that's really good for us. But the main move, in theory, is knight d3. The purpose is to go queen e1 and then take an e4. Also, knight takes e4 is on the, let's say, schedule as right now. So we go queen g6, defending e4, queen e1, and now we settle this with bishop b5 to forever cement this pawn in e4. And if this one is happily this one, and there's no problem at all. This one is like maybe this. If the do queen takes this, like equal. If the knight takes there, it's equal. Again, there's no problems, no worries. We just develop, and we have an equal game. We don't have anything to worry about. And that's the conclusion about the Stanley variation in the discussion of the Vienna game and how to play against this black. And I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you next time.
Hey, check this video out to make sure that you get more important information to bring your chess to the next level.